Well, hello everybody out on Zoom and in Facebook land and uh, on YouTube, and anybody else that's checking in on this after we've recorded this. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to do a brand new talk. First time I've done this one, but it's going to be on what network spinal really is. Why are we focused on not only healthcare, but personal development as well? So we're going to go ahead and jump into this. And I'm going to share my screen right here. And we will get started. Now, as I share my screen, normally I like to do questions as we're going through this, but whenever I share a screen like this, not really able to see the questions as they pop up. So we're going to go ahead and ask that we save all questions till the very end. Uh-oh. Let's see what's going on here. There. All right. So network spinal is a very specific and very unique approach to chiropractic. And we are right at the junction between healthcare and personal development. Now, these two are a necessary union, necessary partnership. We're going to talk a little bit more about what that is. But first, let's just talk about what is health? So most people, whenever they seek out someone to help them, a healthcare practitioner, a doctor, a nurse, a massage therapist, a physical therapist, a counselor, really why they're seeking them out has more to do with a dysfunction, a disease, an infirmity, a symptom, than it does actual health. So health really does not have much to do with diseases, symptoms, or dysfunctions. Health, according to Dolan's Medical Dictionary, is a condition of optimal physical, social, mental, and spiritual well-being, not just the absence of diseases or infirmities. And Webster's medical dictionary defines it as the state of being sound in body or mind, and again, not simply freedom from physical diseases or pain. So many of us wait. We wait until there is something physically wrong with us before we actually start to focus on our health. But by the time that something's physically wrong with us, we've already lost a significant portion of our health. So a lot of times over there, if you look at the arrows down at the bottom, we really stay more towards that left arrow, which is I'm not really going to focus on my well-being. I'm not really going to focus on my functionality until it becomes blatantly obvious that I've lost it. And in our society, we really don't have a healthcare system. What we have is a disease care, a symptom care management system, whereas health is really an inside job, and therefore health care has to be focused on restoring a person's ability to heal and to grow not only their body but their life from the inside out, rather than just managing our symptoms. And don't get me wrong, if we're in an emergency situation, which is what our medical system is really set up for, then managing our symptoms, managing our functionalities through drugs, through surgery, through therapeutics is very, very beneficial and sometimes very necessary. It can save our lives because there are certain symptoms that can kill us. But if we're really a smart society, we would use both medicine and healthcare simultaneously, recognizing where is the benefit of each one and where's the downside of each one. They're not really opposite. They're supposed to be going together, but as of yet, we're not quite a smart society, although we are getting there. So when we're dealing with pain and symptoms, from that allopathic medical mindset, it's all about suppressing them. It's all about cutting them out. It's about numbing them out. It's about getting to the place where we don't experience them. However, we need a signal. We need a signal when we're in the wrong place, in the wrong environment. We need the signal whenever we're having the wrong timing. We need a signal when we're doing the wrong thing, or whenever we're acting from a place of not really authentic reasoning, doing the wrong thing at the wrong time in the wrong place for the wrong reason. Guess what? Life is supposed to suck. It's supposed to wake us up. So pain and symptoms are literally a message from our body telling us to wake up, telling us that something that we're doing is inefficient. Some way that we're going about life is wasting the finite amount of time and resources that we have in this physical existence. And if we continue on, we're going to end up wearing ourselves down more so than we build ourselves up, or faster than we can repair and grow from that type of stress. So what's the goal of healthcare? Well, the goal of healthcare is not just not having symptoms. The goal of healthcare is not getting rid of our disease. The goal of healthcare is actually true well-being, which means you as a being, complete in your life, are truly well, truly at your optimum function in all of those different areas that we talked about a little while ago. And whenever we are focused on healthcare, the most important place to put our attention is going to be our nervous system. And this is really what chiropractic from the very beginning has been focused on, is a free and clear expression through a free and clear nervous system. Because everything that we think, everything that we experience, everything that we feel, everything that we believe, everything that we do is a direct result of our nervous system's ability to process information. And when we're looking at health, we have to understand that it's the role of our central nervous system, our brain and all of the nerves. Its job is to maintain the resistance of our body. In other words, its job is to make sure that our body is able to continually to move towards growth and adaptation in a world in which stress and breakdown and chaos and entropy are constants. Health is really health maintenance is the primary function of the brain. It's not just thoughts. It's not just language or poetry or these other things that we typically associate with the brain. However, all of those things affect health, and our health, our functionality affect all of those different things. So our central nervous system really is the junction between the physical and the non-physical. And what do I mean about non-physical? Joy is not necessarily physical. Love is not necessarily physical. The relationships that we have with ourselves and others, those are not necessarily physical. Our body is physical. Our mind is somewhat physical, has some physical components to it, but really it's our nervous system in which that non-physical and the physical come together to create our experience and expression of life. And that is unique for each one of us. So our nervous system is surrounded by the hardest structures of our body, our skull and our spine, made up of these different vertebrae. And the way that we experience life affects the position and the tension and tone of our spine. And the way that life affects us also affects the position, tension, tone, and shape of our spine. So the shape, position, tension, and tone of our spine is in direct relationship to the shape, position, tension, and tone of our life, because we live our lives through our nervous system. It's our nervous system that creates the experiences that we have in life. Two people can go through the exact same situation, and they will have two totally different experiences of it. And because they have different experiences of it, their body will respond differently to it. So what that means is there's certain things that are stressful to you that may not be stressful for me, and vice versa. There's certain things that I enjoy that you may not necessarily enjoy. And the difference between the two of us is the functionality of our nervous system. So all of our body systems would be immobilized without our nervous system. Our nervous system controls and regulates every body activity down to the workings of the tiniest cells. So having a free and clear nervous system is vitally important, not only for health, for the functionality of our body, but also for our experience and expression to the world. So it's very important, as a matter, primarily important for our social health, for our spiritual health. The quality of our healing is directly proportional to the functional capacity of our central nervous system to send and receive messages. That's what the nervous system does. It gathers all of the information from every one of the individual cells that makes up our body, and then it processes that information, and then it sends more information back out to the cells to tell the cells how to respond. And this is kind of one of the really interesting things about our bodies and our nervous systems is that we don't have a direct experience of the outside world. The only thing that we have is the information about how our individual cells respond to that outside world. Our eyes don't see, our fingers don't feel, our tongue doesn't taste. All of that sight, feeling, and taste actually occurs in the brain. It's the brain's interpretation of what our fingers, our tongue, and our eyes say based on how they react to the different aspects of life. So in chiropractic, the way that we want to approach healthcare is, again, that free and clear nervous system. Because our spine, our nerves, our brain is the ability to experience and express ourselves to life. If that's distorted, if it's twisted, if it's torqued, in what chiropractic we call a subluxation, that's going to affect not only how our body functions, but how we experience life. And having different distortions, different types of tension patterns in the central nervous system is fairly predictable in what kind of distortions we're going to have in our experience or our ability to go through life, to grow and to heal. So subluxations have been documented to the point where nobody can really dispute that they exist, and they change everything. They change every aspect of our experience and our expression through our body. And our nervous system is so sensitive that just the weight of a dime can reduce how much our nerves send information by as much as 60%. So think about that. The weight of a dime, that's really small. What happens if we're slouched forward all the time? Don't you think that that's going to change the tension or the pull on our nerves, on certain cells of our body? What happens if we're twisted off to the side? What happens if we have a lot of little subtle twists in our body? It doesn't take much to create the weight of a dime on this very, very long and large system. So when we are approaching health, there's two ways of approaching it. And the most common way in our society is through restorative therapeutics. Okay. And what we're doing in restorative therapeutics is we want to get back to that place that we were at right before we experience the breakdown, right before we experience the disease or the symptom or the pain or the problem. All right, restorative therapeutics seeks to cause and blame. We want to find the name of this disease, the name of this distortion, what type of injury happened, what kind of toxin came in, what kind of emotional trauma that we had. And we want to find that cause, and we want to blame that for what's going on with our experience. Okay, we want to return that person to that place that they were in whenever they were feeling good, right before we found that cause or that blame, or that cause or blame came in. See, in restorative therapeutics, the symptom is a problem, and we want to get rid of it. We just want to make it stop. And really what restorative therapeutics focuses on is going to be biomedical function. And that's if it's really good restorative therapeutics. Not even all restorative therapeutics focus on that. But there's another way to go about healing. There's another way of going about healthcare, and really a way of going about life, and that's reorganizational healing. Every cell of your body, or just about every cell of your body, gets replaced every 7 years. And the goal of every cell of your body is to learn, to take on the stress of life, to learn from it, to grow from it, to adapt, become wiser, become stronger, and then to pass that information on to the next generation of cells, and then ideally to the next generation of people or of animals or whatever else it is that's growing. So reorganizational healing is not just about getting back to that place that we were in right before the catastrophe happened. It's about learning from the challenges of life. It's about learning from the traumas, the wounds, the hurts, the stresses, and it's about growing from them, becoming stronger, becoming wiser, so that we develop and grow all throughout our lives. And so when we do pass on that information to the next generation of cells or to the next generation of people or to our community, we're making the world a much better place because of the experiences that we've had, rather than trying to constantly go back to some past event, whether that was a positive or a negative event. So reorganizational healing is a journey. It's not something that we just go and get and all of a sudden I feel better, therefore I'm healed. It's a process that unfolds throughout our entire life. But at the end of that process, we become more, we become greater, we become a better, more higher ordered expression of who we authentically can be. So this is where I really got to ask you, where is your focus? Is your focus on where you have been? I either want to get back there, or that happened and that therefore that's the reason that I'm stuck? Or is your focus on the road ahead? Is there focused on how you are going to get to a place that you've never been to before? And in healing, in health, we have to acknowledge that, again, health is not just about the physical body. It's also about social. It's all about relationships. So there's these different domains of life that we need to acknowledge that are a very important part of our health, not just to the physical body. And so when we're dealing with the health care of an individual, we have to do more than just poke around on the physical body. We have to acknowledge that what's happening in your intimate relationships, whether it's the intimate relationship with yourself or someone else around you, that is going to affect the functionality of your body. So it was when people come in and they have a dysfunction and we go, okay, well, what's at the root of this? Is this happening because the body is the problem? Or is this happening because some other aspect of life is the problem? This is why we have to necessarily combine healthcare with personal development if we really want to get to a place in our life that's greater than what we've experienced in the past. So these domains of life that we have to look at are, yes, not only your health and functionality of your physical body, but also intimacy. The intimacy between you and yourself, the intimacy between you and your environment, the intimacy between you and your community, those around you. We have to look at your occupation, how you make a living, how you take in resources. What are you doing in life? And not all occupations earn money, but they earn other sorts of resources. So is that congruent and authentic with who you are? And then the last one And this is one that is extremely important towards the later stages of life. But the earlier that we look at this and the earlier we become aware of this, the sooner we get to have this health in all domains in life. And that's going to be our impact on the world. Is what you're doing, is what you're experiencing just about you? Or is it about a lot more than just you? Are you looking to make it day to day? Are you looking to leave a legacy for the generations that come behind you? So one of the things that we first look at in network spinal, but also in personal development, is how much energy do you have available to you? How much energy is your system utilizing? What type of energy state are you in? Now, whenever I talk about energy, this is not some mystical, magical thing. Energy is the potential to do work. If you don't have the potential, you're not going to actually be able to get the work done. So the state that you're in, the energy state that you're in, determines what you're going to be able to accomplish, but it also determines what you're going to be able to experience. So if we're in an energy poor state, that means there is too little energy, too little potential to maintain our system, and the system itself is in collapse. This is where all symptoms, all diseases, all dysfunctions actually come from. There's not enough potential to maintain a high level of function. Therefore, the system collapses. And at that lower level, we can maintain that lower level. All right? But then above that is going to be the state of energy neutral. Now, low energy neutral means the system can maintain where it's at. And maintaining where it's at is so much better than being in collapse. But maintaining where it's at isn't necessarily where we really want to be. Now, you will notice someone that's in a low energy state, a low neutral state, because they will always tell you reasons why things can't work out. They're always going to be focused on what's the problem. They're always going to be focused on what's the negative. And this is a very good thing, because the more you focus on problems, the more you focus on what's wrong, the more you can kind of keep those things at bay. All right, but focusing on what's wrong is a really crappy way to go through life. So the next step up from that is going to be high energy neutral. High energy neutral means the system not only has enough to maintain, but it can also handle small changes. All right. So a lot of times when you experience somebody that's in a high energy neutral state, they'll be talking about how hard they're working. They're going to be talking about how much energy they're putting in. They're going to be talking about, how much things are happening, and they're going to make things happen. And high energy neutral means very small changes are going to occur. So lots and lots of energy will be expended, but not really much in the long term is going to end up changing. But again, high energy neutral means things are, we're able to actually get out there. We're actually able to put our focus on some of the solutions. But the real goal to be able to achieve at will, not just randomly, but when you want to, is going to be energy rich. That means that there's so much potential, so much energy, that there's an abundance, there's an overflow from one system into another. So there's such an abundance of energy that not only do we have the capacity to make massive changes, but we're also fueling the things and the systems around us so that they can make big changes too. And this is where things really start to get into synchronicity or into the flow. This is where things start to happen effortlessly. And this is the goal, to make big changes in our life, but to make them efficiently. Means we're not wasting a lot of energy trying and pushing and figuring out. Means that we can put the least amount of energy into just the right place at just the right time, that we get the biggest results for the least expenditure. So another thing that we look at in Network Spinal is, what is your natural orientation? Okay, Everybody has a unique and authentic way of utilizing the energy that they have available to them. There's a unique flow. And people can be divided into two categories. And this is not necessarily black and white. This is a spectrum. So you can be hard into one extreme, or you can be kind of closer to the middle. But one way is going to be an internally based person. Now, an internally based person, they are going to be energized from the past. They're going to look back on the past, and the past is great. There's nothing negative in the past. There's no need to heal from the past. There's nothing from the past that is altering or stopping them from moving forward in the future. Everything in the past is all about lessons, and learning has brought them to where they are, and that makes them stronger. Internal based people, they're very, very energized by experiencing the world deep, deep within their center. And the more of the world they can experience to the center, the more energized they become, and the greater of an impact they can have, not only in themselves and the world outside. Internal based people view the world typically as if everyone in the world was more like me, things would be a lot better. On the other end of the spectrum, we have externals. Externals love to experience the future. Externals love to dream. They love to go far out. They love new and novel experiences. For an external, however, the past is typically very painful. Something that they look back on, and they experience a lot of discomfort whenever they look back typically. Externals will typically be the ones that are on a long healing journey, especially based on the past. This happened in the past, and therefore I'm limited, therefore I'm dysfunctional, therefore I'm wounded, and I need to do something to heal this wound from the past. Externals are going to typically experience the world as if I were much more like that or them, then things would be a lot better. Internals are the bridge makers. They're the ones that take from the past sequentially and step forward into building a new future. Externals are the visionaries. They're the ones that rarely fit in because they see a future. They experience a future that is not yet manifested. It's not yet come into this four-dimensional reality. So externals are the ones that inspire, and internals are the ones that typically move the world forward incrementally. But externals love to jump way out there. So another way that we can have a natural orientation is going to be either fueled by ourself or fueled by others. Now, many people get a little bit confused by this, and they'll say, oh, whenever I'm around other people, I'm, just drained. And it's like, well, are you really fueled by yourself? Are you really drained by others? Or do you just have a really crappy social circle? And maybe it's the people that you're around that are draining you. Fueled by self really means that the more we relate to ourselves, the more we're going to be able to reach out to others. The more we get ourselves prioritized and focused, the more that we get ourselves to be the central focus, the more it's going to bleed out into those around us. Fueled by others means that we have to go out and make things relevant for other people in order for us to get energized and to really get excited about it. So people that are fueled by others are typically going to be doctors and teachers and people that really are just lit up by going out and making a big shift, a big impact for others. People that are fueled by self many times are the brooding artist, the ones that are going to be spending a lot of time just naturally. They just enjoy do this in prayer and meditation. A lot of monks are going, and nuns are really fueled by self. And both of these are very, very necessary and important in creating the world around us and moving the world forward. So neither internal nor external is good or bad, neither fueled by self or fueled by others is good or bad. It's just recognizing what is your authentic nature and moving with that, rather than trying to create some image or some way of being that is opposite of your natural orientation. Health, the ability of our body to grow and adapt, is really dependent on, is the internal environment a good match in the external environment? This is what evolution really is based on. Darwin's survival of the fittest. Fittest was not strongest and fastest. The fittest was the one that fit in best with its environment. And a lot of times we'll focus on the environment, trying to cut things out or add things in. But one of the things that we don't focus on is the internal environment, ourselves. If we're not authentic, if we're not the actual real version of ourselves, we're not going to figure out how to fit into our external environment, much less which external environment is best for us to fit into. So many times we waste a lot of time and energy on the external environment whenever we really haven't done the work in order to recognize and to honor and to dive into, well, what is my authentic internal environment really about? So, like I said, neither one of these are good nor bad. It's just recognizing which one energizes you, which one lights you up, and which one drains you. You want to have access to both acting in an internal and external way, both being by yourself and being fueled by others. But one of those is going to deplete you and the other one is going to energize you. So the goal is to acknowledge where you are, what you are, who you are, go to the one that energizes you, and then bring that energy to the opposite. Always remembering that one is going to be more of a stress than the other one. So another way that we approach people, and this very much affects how I adjust each individual person whenever they come into the table. What is the physical application that we're working with on their body is very dependent on what's called our triad of change. When we are trying to produce change, when we're trying to make a change, there's three elements that are involved in change as it relates to a human being. Number one is going to be perception. How we feel, how we think, the stories that we give things, the meanings, our understanding. It's all the information. Number two is going to be our behavior, what we actually do. And number three is going to be the structure, the order at which we do things, the environment, both external and internal, what's around us, our schedule. All of those things are going to be our structure. Our posture can very much be a structure. So each one of us has a very unique recipe to approaching change that's authentic, that's efficient for our unique nature. So some of us, if we try to approach change first by doing something differently, it's not going to go well. That's just not ideal for us. We might need to learn something, and then we can sustain doing something together. Or we might need to change the way that we approach doing something, add it into our schedule, and then we'll be able to consistently do it. Others of us, all we need to do is just start doing. And once we start doing, the information just kind of seems to show up to us. And the way that we do it just kind of lays itself out. So with this, there's one of these elements that is going to be the most efficient way for you to produce change. There's going to be another one of these elements that's going to be the least efficient. Now, whenever I talk about the least efficient, recognize this is not a problem with you. This is actually the most consistent part of you, the most stable part of you. But the most stable part of you is the worst place to try to induce change from. A bicycle is inherently easier to turn because it's unstable compared to a car, which is much more stable. And therefore, the car requires power steering, and the bicycle can weave and turn almost at, the slightest little touch. So when we're approaching the triad of change, we want to identify what is the least stable aspect of you, the least consistent aspect of you, and that's where we want to start putting our focus in order to get the other areas to be able to come along in sustainable change. Now, another thing that we look at is what's called the seasons of well-being, which is based on the 12 stages of healing. Now, the 12 stages of healing is a very, very ingrained aspect of the human psyche, because this is the 12 stages, the 12 steps of how change occurs, not only in the human system, but throughout the human life. Now, this process, this pattern shows up in all great myths, all cultural stories, all legends that have really stood the test of time. And there was a man by the name of Joseph Campbell that studied this, this pattern, this layout of events, and he coined this term, the hero's journey. And so by looking at this, the reason that all of these stories and myths have withstood the test of time is because they're so captivating. And the reason is we recognize this pattern subconsciously. But if we can acknowledge this pattern and bring that up to the conscious, then we can get involved in this pattern. We can consciously say, this is where I am, this is where I need to be, and this is the stage that I'm really kind of getting stuck into. This is the stage that doesn't have a lot of energy, doesn't have a lot of resources. And if I put a little bit of energy into this stage right here, I'm going to get a bigger result in change, as opposed to struggling and striving over here, where, it's not really going to make much change because I'm neither there nor do I need to be there. So these 12 steps are stages of healing are broken down into 4 basic seasons, or in the hero's journey, they're broken into 3 basic acts. Okay. The first act season is discover. And in discover, what we really need to recognize is that things are not working, that we are in pain, that we are in breakdown. And a big component of why things are not working is because there's a part of us that we have yet to really embrace. There's a part of us that we've rejected. There's a part of us that we have minimized. There's a part of us that we have suppressed. Therefore, we're not complete. We're not whole. We're not fully functional because there's a part of us that we have not allowed ourselves to either connect with or to find what that part of us is really there for. What purpose does it serve? And so in Discover, we're really digging into all of the things that are preventing us from moving forward, and recognizing that by avoiding reality, by avoiding experiencing the things that we don't experience, we've created more pain for ourselves and for others. Now, the good news is once we have that real, authentic recognition, once we have that real and authentic realization, we can move almost immediately out of Discover and into Transform. Once we've identified all the blockages to our growth and our health, then in Transform, we can really start to make changes. We can start to acknowledge that each part of us has a purpose. Bring in, get to know that part of us and really find where that part shines and move forward as a more whole and complete individual. Really get a stronger sense of who we are, stronger sense of our identity. And once we get to the end of developing that stronger sense of identity, we're going to start to recognize that it really is not as fulfilling as we actually wanted it to be, as we thought it would be. And then we get to move into awaken. Awaken is where we really let go of all of those inauthentic patterns, all of those things that we thought we were, we wanted to be, but really are not our true selves. And awaken, we get to revel in the pure experience of just being after all the doing. Now, integrate is where we've gone through each one of those seasons consciously and with awareness enough to embrace the different aspects of them. And in integrate, we can mix and match. We can bring in different elements, different components of the different stages and the different seasons in order to have an extraordinary shift, a massive impact on ourselves and in others. So each one of those 12 stages or steps, there's an exercise that can help to fuel us in moving through that. And this exercise is called Somato, meaning body, Respiratory, meaning breath, integration, bringing them both together. And it's designed to offer you new options and reorganization in your experience of your body and your personal healing. SRI educates us in our body's rhythms and our inner wisdom through focused attention, gentle breath, movement, and touch. Another thing that we work with at Organic Living Chiropractic is what we call P.I.E, and it's the pain integration experience. Again, like we talked about before, pain is a very necessary part of life. It's a message. It tells us something. Most people come into our office wanting to get rid of pain. But until the reason that the pain is there has been addressed and the change that that pain is calling for has been enacted, the pain is still necessary. So at Organic Living Chiropractic, we approach pain by helping you to make it unnecessary, eliminating the cause of it. Therefore, your body can start rewarding you for the positive changes rather than punishing you for not making those correct changes. So pain, although most of us look to our body for pain, pain actually, again, comes from the brain. It comes from the nervous system. And it's an inefficient interpretation of the energy and information that's stuck. It's not being able to be utilized. It's stagnated. It's not able to flow. It's not able to move. It's not able to produce the change that it's there for. And by changing the way that our brain processes this information, we can drastically and nearly instantly change our experience of that same sensation, that same information, that same energy that we once felt as pain. Now, another service that's offered here at Organic Living Chiropractic is life coaching. Life coaching is going to help you discover new and novel solutions for your unique personal growth and your life development. Life coaching is personalized plans that are created for self-transformation in your life for the goals that you as a unique individual want to achieve. Life coaching helps motivate you and support you in tailoring to meet your personalized goals and needs. And it provides tools and support that are designed for you to grow, for you to transform, and to embody your highest potential in your life. Another service that's offered here at Organic Living Chiropractic is frequency-based nutrition. Now, most people think of, nutrition as just the food that you put in your body, and you're supposed to eat healthy vegetables and follow the food pyramid and all of that other stuff. But nutrition is a lot deeper than that. Nutrition is defined as the act or process of nourishing or being nourished. And the definition of nourished is to promote growth, to maintain or support. So it's not just the food that you put into your body, because everything is energy. Everything is energy and information. The things that you listen to, the thoughts that you have, the supplements that you take, the environment that you're in, all contributes in either a positive or a negative way to your growth, to maintaining you and supporting you in who you authentically are. So frequency-based nutrition is really looking at the energy and information that's available to you, and what different types of energy and information, whether that's through food, whether that's through your environment, whether that's through your thoughts and your emotions, what can be added in or what needs to be taken out in order for you to gain the highest level of energy for each one of your cells, to maintain the correct voltage so that not only can they grow and divide and develop and keep going on, but they're not being inhibited in any normal, healthy function that the cell has. And whenever you are supported in your normal, healthy function, you are going to grow, because that's just what the body does. That's what the psyche does. That's what the human does whenever it's uninhibited. So I want to thank you very, very much for tuning in. Really appreciate your attention, appreciate your time. And here's our contact information. If any of this has been interesting in any way, shape, or form, please feel free to reach out to us. You can also check us out on Facebook. You can check us out on YouTube. We have a lot more videos on our YouTube channel, and please subscribe. If you are a member of Organic Living Chiropractic, or if you've interacted with us in the past, please share this video with your friends. And if you have yet to come in, again, reach out to us. We really look forward to connecting and growing with you in whatever way, shape, or form we can. So I'm going to open this up to any kind of questions that we have right now. Let me know either on Facebook or in the chat if there's any topics that we didn't cover, or if there's any questions that came up with the topics that we did cover. And it's looking like all is silent. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Really appreciate you, and we will see you sometime, somewhere in the future.